ruined that one. All right, so maybe I should practice this first. Welcome back to the garage. I've been working on getting my Langmuir Crossfire Pro plasma table operational, and one of the things that you need to do to get a CNC plasma table operational is connect your plasma cutter to it. I have a Everlast Powerplasma 62i, and I highly recommend the brand and that particular cutter. It has been nothing but spectacular for everything that I've needed to do thus far. One of the things that Everlast does is they give you a plug that all of your control wires can go into, and all of the wires connect to 6 of the 12 pins that are in this plug. It comes apart by unscrewing it, and on the back you have connecting pins that you can solder your wires to. Now I've removed all except for the 6 pins that I need, and you should reference the wiring diagram that comes with the instructions for the plasma cutter, and each one of these pins is identified, and you can see which wires go with which pins. You need to connect 6 different wires to the pins. 2 for the on-off, 2 for raw amperage, and 2 for divided amperage. Now I've already tried this once, and please forgive the mess that I made of this. It is just a solid mess. I was learning how to solder by doing this, which is not something that you should do. You should learn how to solder and research soldering before you get into this. Otherwise, you're going to do like me and have to order another one of these plugs. So, the technique that I'm going to be using is called tinning, and that is I'm going to tin the ends of these wires. That is, cover them with solder and also cover the receiving pins with solder. Also, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to these, I've found these female connecting pins, and these particular ones are a nice snug fit on the back of the pins, but not snug enough. So I'm going to crimp these pins to the end of the wires, solder these on, and then I'm going to tin these pins and then melt the solder onto the female receiving pins. I haven't done this yet, obviously, because the pins are sitting right there, but I anticipate this is going to be a pretty solid connection, pretty sturdy, and much cleaner than trying to solder onto the back of these tiny little pins and making a mess on the back of them. So let's get to it. Let's see how it works out, and I'll update you as I go along. So the first step in our order of operations is going to be to crimp these connectors onto the ends of the wires, and we're going to use our crimping tool for that. These things are pretty squirrely, and the crimping tool is fairly bulky, so these things drop all the time. You can use some of the plastic there to get yourself a good crimp. We're going to dab a little solder on there to solid up the connection anyway. Just like that. So you want to make sure that the metal is touching the wire and that you've got a good solid connection. You can use your multimeter if you want to make sure that you've got a good connection, but that's essentially what it is. So I'm going to knock the rest of these out and we'll fast forward a little bit. Okay, now we've got a little bit of solder on here. I'm just gonna put a little bit more just to make these connections solid. So just be careful, don't burn yourself. Okay, that looks pretty solid. All right. The next step in the process is going to be something called tinning. And that is, I'm going to cover these little pins with solder. And that way, whenever I put the plugs on here that are connected to the wires, I can just heat this up, solder melts, solidifies, and I've got a good connection. And I'm not that good at it, so just bear with me. That's 3. One more. Okay. Fix this one a little bit. That's good. All right, now it's time to connect the wires onto the back of the plug. So consult the diagram. Make sure that you're putting these things on the right pins, because there's only one way that they go on. So I'm going to try to do this on camera. If it doesn't work out, whatever. So now we've got the pins on the back of the pin, the connector, and we got some solder on there. The connections seem to be pretty solid. I'm going to put a little bit more solder on there and push this shrink wrap up onto the connections so that we don't get any touching of the connections. So our connections appear to be solid. The shrink wrap is shrunk and everything appears to be ready for this. So that takes care of that part of it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out our full video on the Langmuir Crossfire Pro CNC plasma table assembly. Thank you.